Update 5.3.0 for Battlefield 2042 is just around the corner. It is releasing next week. We are still waiting for Season 6. We're feeling extremely bored and tired of this game, but here we are. We got some content coming. First thing, which I think a lot of people are excited for but also disappointed, is Battlefield 2042's new mode, or seasonal event to be honest. Let's not call it a mode. Redux. This is basically going to be revisiting all of the old seasonal events that we had in previous seasons. And while people feel like they're sort of just regurgitating content, I'm actually excited to see it's come back because it's going to spice up the mood with the new game modes. 2042 has been feeling extremely dry and dead recently. Like, if I'm completely honest, I haven't been enjoying it as much as I'd like to. But we all knew this was going to happen. It's been on a large decline for a long time. And with a lot of new players coming to the game, especially after these seasons as well, it's going to allow them to basically unlock the rewards that are available in them seasons, and even me, to be honest, because there's some stuff I didn't unlock. We can go back and unlock them again, and we give you that second chance. But to be honest, I'm just excited for these game modes. They were genuinely great. Control is also on a bi-weekly basis now, which was amazing. I loved Shutdown as well. It's just going to be fun, especially playing with some old mates that are now coming back to the game. They will obviously have as well bundles back in the store, which not everybody is a fan of, but it is what it is. There's going to be some cosmetics. They got to gain some money out of this. But with the Battle of Nordvik, the Liquidators, and Leviathan Rising, they're also adding far more maps to these game modes. Now, this is a bit of a iffy thing for me because it's going to be very trial and error to see how these game modes work on the new maps. Now, areas of improvement they're calling it, but essentially buffs and nerfs. There are a lot of big changes coming to some of the all-out warfare maps. I'll give you just a quick example here. For on Exposure, Conquest 128, civilian vehicles are going down from 12 to 6, and attack helicopters are going from 1 to 3. Now, you can check out Dice's blog. I'll leave a link in the description because there's loads of stuff to just go through there. There's no point reading it all out because it's just too much, to be honest. Now, with dealing and receiving damage, the current gameplay armor/health difference between attack helis and their lighter variants are not noticeably felt, and they equally struggle against anti-air weaponry. So this is the whole thing with anti-air wildcats. Now, dealing and receiving damage, attack helicopters are going to be taking a lot less damage when it comes to the 30mm cannons on the wildcat, and then flak weapon explosions as well. This is going to be reduced by 25% to help their survivability against the lighter counterparts like the Nightbird. Anti-vehicle missiles will now also be dealing damage primarily through the blast radius. This is to ensure they're more effective as an anti-vehicle option, so you now have to try and hit them more direct. And this is going to basically affect all air vehicles that are using anti-vehicle missiles. There's also going to be some gunner improvements. So now they're now going to have a thermal optic scope, but this is going to come at the cost of being able to zoom. So instead of being able to zoom, you can now use a thermal. I don't know why they didn't add this sooner. This is something I've been waiting for a long time. They've added them to like the ground vehicles and stuff, and it makes so much sense to add them to the helis. It's sometimes be quite difficult to spot out infantry when using these attack helis, especially in the Huron. When you're in the gunner seat, like that heavy machine gun, the silenced one, is extremely lethal to infantry. However, it's quite hard to hit your shots, and unless you're low to the ground and you can easily pick them out, it's quite a challenge. So having the thermal is going to make it 10 times easier and hopefully make it more fun. DICE are also reducing the sensitivity of all helicopters. This is basically to make it easier to aim. Essentially target acquisition. Not everyone will be a fan of this, but you know, just have to see how it goes. The hovercraft is also having quite a big change. I think everyone's just been saying this since like the beta, like it's just extremely drifty, and if you're on keyboard and mouse especially, I find it so much more challenging to use. Like you end up drifting more than accelerating and turning correctly. It's annoying as hell, and that's the main reason why I don't use the hovercraft, to be honest. I'd just rather use an LATV. So it's now going to accelerate and halt faster than before. It'll feel a lot less drifty, so you know, we'll have to see how it goes, but it's good this has finally come to hovercraft because people have been waiting for ages. Flat cannons as well were also disabled in a previous update. I can't remember which update it was for the LATV and the hovercraft, but they're now being introduced again. But they're completely removing the damage against infantry as they felt it was too powerful. So now they're not going to do damage to infantry at all, and it will purely just be an anti-air thing. There's also been a few changes to some specialists as well, like Crawford, when the minimum damage of his mounted Vulcan's bullets have now been increased from 10 to 12, and it's also increased the accuracy of the mounted Vulcan after firing for a small period of time. So it's not going to spread as quickly. The engineers have had quite a big nerf here when it comes to the RPG and the recoilless M5 by reducing their projectile velocity by 17%. They're now going to travel quite a bit slower, I don't know how noticeable it's going to be, but we'll have to see and test it out next week. There was a dev comment on this as well, and it's just because people do typically snipe with RPGs. It's happened to me quite a few times, whether it's the standard RPG 7 or the recoilless M5. It does happen. It's irritating. They're trying to slow it down, so we'll have to see that happen. I don't think it's going to change much, to be honest. It just means you've got sort of just got to predict where the RPG is essentially going to land, so it's just more about bullet prediction, to be honest. The attack helicopters as well. I feel like the helicopters have had like the biggest changes coming into this update. So Nightbreed has had improvements to their first person perspective for the crosshair position, which is great because I always felt it was a bit iffy. I'm obviously not a pro pilot or nothing, but I've just, you know, if you jump into them every now and then, it can be a little bit hard to use at times. Attack helicopters are also having a tow ammo increased by 1. The gunner rate of fire has been increased from 200 to 600. However, the gunner blast damage has been lowered from 20 to 18, and the starting damage has been lowered from 40 to 25. The attack helicopter gunner speed reduced from 800 to 350. So that's essentially it for this update. I feel like Redux is probably the biggest thing coming in update 5.3. And then there's the buffs, but also nerfs to the helis and stuff. We're still waiting for like the full vehicle loadout rework as well. They're taking their time when it comes to this. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. I don't know how they're taking this long, especially when it comes to explosive spam and stuff on transport vehicles. It's such like a, I don't know, it seems like such an important thing they need to change, and they're just focusing on different avenues when this is something they can just do, get done and out of the way, and it'll make a ton of people happy. Not anything great, nothing too over the top coming in this update. It is what it is.